Pucks with Haggs is powered by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Welcome to another edition of the Pucks with Haggs podcast, powered by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Welcome to the podcast. I think this is the 147th episode of the Pucks with Haggs podcast. I'm your host, Joe Haggerty. You can find my work at joehaggerty.substack.com. Subscribe and get yourself a premium membership to get all of my Bruins and NHL writing sent straight directly to your inbox. I also write columns 3 times a week for the Boston Sports Journal, so go to bostonsportsjournal.com and get a membership there. You can see all of my Bruins writing, mostly writing columns right after Bruins games are over, so check that out as well. Great site too. Talented writers like Greg Bedard, Mike Giardi, and a cast of thousands covering the Boston sports scene, so check that out. Today, we're going to have another Hagbag mailbag episode answering fan questions, going over what we've seen over the last few games, and setting things up for a huge West Coast trip that the Bruins are going to go on, where they're going to play a bunch of playoff teams, really be able to prove themselves and continue to keep rolling amidst a 4-game winning streak. But for right now, we are going to answer fan questions after we thank our sponsors really quick. And first and foremost, we want to talk about PrizePicks. Yes, our friends at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Let's also take the guesswork out of buying tickets with our friends at Game Time. That's right. You love Bruins tickets, you love comedy tickets, you love concert tickets, you love Celtics tickets, Patriots tickets, any kind of tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? It's game time. All right, let's get into this really quick and just go over what we saw this weekend. 4-3 overtime win for the Bruins on Saturday afternoon against the Flyers. It was actually a pretty entertaining game. They came from a 2-0 deficit, came back, tied things up 3-3 on a Brad Marchand goal in the third period, and then David Pastrnak to Pavel Zacha in overtime for the game winner. So you had some goals. You had a bunch of the Bruins' best players step up. You had Jeremy Swayman making a huge breakaway save on Joel Farabee in overtime, setting up the game winner. You had John Tortorella crying about the refs calling his team for penalties afterwards and insinuating that they didn't dive when Matchkov definitely dove at least once or twice, and Charlie McAvoy got in his face and let him know that he didn't appreciate that. So you had pretty much a bit of everything, and it was kind of an old school Bruins-Flyers game. It was a lot of fun. It was physical. There was a bunch of scoring. It was back and forth, and really an entertaining product. And at the end of the day, that's what the Bruins, I think, have become lately. Yes, they're still playing good defense. Yes, they're still getting back to fundamentals, protecting the house in the zone, all that good stuff. But I think you're also seeing that the offense is starting to come, that guys are starting to get used to playing with each other, that the confidence is growing, that the chemistry is growing, and that they're starting, even the power play is starting to crank out a few goals here and there. And you're starting to see the Bruins play a much better, more recognizable, more entertaining brand of hockey. And I think as we get further removed from the 20 games at the start of this season under Jim Montgomery, when clearly something was wrong with this group and they were not playing well together. Yes, there was a little bit of some new players, some guys getting used to playing with each other, all that stuff too. But I still think something was off chemistry-wise with this team in the opening 20 games of the year, and you could see it. And it's not that way anymore under Joe Sacco, under a new coach, and maybe being jolted to see their coach fired. You're seeing the Bruins playing much closer to what they've played in the past, and that's been good to see. And I frankly expect that to continue. But 2 goals for Trent Frederick also, let's not forget that, in the Flyers game. Kept them going offensively early in the game and allowed them, helped them come back from that quick deficit that they found themselves in the first period. And for Frederick, too, I really liked the way he scored the goals. He was around the front of the net. He was winning battles. He was using his size and his heaviness and his physicality to get to the soft areas where you can score. And he was keeping pucks down low by the net. He wasn't trying to do too much curling and going up high by the blue line. He wasn't doing too much trying to throw it back to the point and trying to, make fancy plays. He was keeping it super simple, using his strengths, using what he does best, and it turns into offense for him in production. So that was really good to see. The power play goal was great. It was Mason Low-Rye point shot that got blocked in front, and he just jumped all over it and whisked the backhander right back through the crease and through the net. That's just a good net front player getting it done and doing the right things and getting rewarded for it. So, and that's, I believe there are last two home games, the Bruins have had power play goals, and they've both been from the second unit. Justin Brazeau had the other one. So we're seeing the second unit power play players step up and score and get rewarded for playing a simpler brand of hockey on the power play and keeping it to basics and frankly just winning battles and doing some of the old-fashioned stuff that you have to do to score in the NHL. And in general, I'll be honest with you, since we're kind of going off on a tangent on this, that's what the whole team has done, 5-on-5 and the power play. Like, the Bruins were not scoring in part because Jim Montgomery was harping on them to hang on to pucks, to try to make plays, to find the perfect, quality scoring chance instead of funneling pucks on the net, getting bodies to the net, causing chaos in the D zone and scoring that way. And frankly, in the NHL, maybe you can play that system that Jim Montgomery wants to play if you have super duper high end skill at all your forward positions and you're just loaded with fast skill players. But I really think the Boston Bruins, the roster that they have, the makeup that they have, the way they want to play more like the Florida Panthers, who just forecheck the hell out of you, funnel pucks, attack the net, cause chaos around the front of the net, and score that way, and just wear down and batter the crap out of your defensemen. Like, that doesn't match with what Jim Montgomery wanted and was preaching. Like, it was like two philosophical things that were very much at odds. The way the Bruins want to play and some of the personnel they brought in, and the way Jim Montgomery wanted the team to play and kind of his offensive philosophy in his system, not to mention which he's so super aggressive. I think Jim Montgomery in the system that he wants, especially with the defensemen really getting super aggressive, that it opens them up to odd man rushes and it opens them up to a lot of the transition game that ended up scoring against them. I just think there was flaws to Jim Montgomery's system in addition to whatever chemistry stuff was going on. That just was never going to really be a great fit with the personnel that the Bruins have and the roster that they have. And I think we kind of saw that. And maybe, the players recognized that too and said, hey, I'm going to do the best I can for this coach, but it's not really, I think, a great fit for me. And it's not a great fit for what we bring to the table and how we're going to have success at the NHL level. And I really think Joe Sacco has been a nice fit. I don't know. I still don't know if Joe Sacco is the perfect long-term answer for this group, especially considering Joe Quenneville may be out there. There may be other big-name coaches that get let go, by the end of this year. You have to see what's out there as far as a star coach that you could bring in and really even elevate things to a higher level. I think Don Sweeney wouldn't be doing his job if he didn't consider that. But I also think Joe Sacco has proven to be the right coach for this group right now and exactly what they needed to hear as far as voice, as far as message, as far as temperament, all that stuff, as far as holding them to a high level of expectation and a high level of ability and the way they do things on the ice, and a high standard. That's the word I'm looking for. Holding them to a high standard on the ice of the way they play in all three zones. And I think that's been needed. And I think Joe Sacco is a guy that, he was 39-40 when he got his first job. That was over 10 years ago when he was with the Colorado Avalanche. He's now in his 50s. I think a much more experienced coach that has worked with some great coaching staffs and head coaches in Boston, Claude Julien, Bruce Cassidy, Jim Montgomery. And now I think has learned a lot and has added a lot to his toolbox as far as coaching goes. And I think is far more ready for an NHL shot now at the age that he is, with the experience level that he is, than he might have been the first time around, when, now he talks about building relationships with players and getting to know them away from the ice as something that he views as very important, and something he didn't do the last time when he was obsessed with the X's and O's and maybe looked at the players more as widgets than actual human beings. He's learned. And I think probably, like all these coaches learn that as they become fathers, as their kids get older, as they view it from the other side, And I think it makes them a more full, complete human being, able to coach and do the things that you need to do as a hockey coach, while also connecting with these players as human beings and all the people in the organization as human beings. And I think that's any coach at any level. I think that's an incredibly important thing, that you have to be able to connect with all your players, and you have to be able to connect with the team, and the players have to know that you care on some level for them to perform their best for you. That's just human nature. That is just coaching 101. You have to show the players that you care, and you have to show a genuine interest in them and not view them as a means to an end. And I think that's what you're starting to see, is the coaches that can do that are having success, and are, the brilliant coaches that have great systems and can do that are, among the best coaches in the NHL. Like Paul Maurice is a great example of that. Like, he's a guy that connects with everybody he talks to, and he's super experienced, and he knows what he's doing. And, he has that feel now, after having coached for as long as he has, that he instinctually makes the right moves and knows how to connect with all different kinds of players in all different kinds of ways, which you have to do as a coach. And I really think that, I want to give Joe Sacco a lot of runway to show that he can do that. And he's got that ability, and that he may be the long-term answer here, especially if he keeps winning games. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. But 4 in a row for the Bruins. They're within a couple points of first place of the Florida Panthers in the Atlantic Division. I believe they're within 1 point of the Toronto Maple Leafs for second place in the division. They're pretty firmly entrenched now in that third place spot in the Atlantic Division. So some really good things for the Boston Bruins going on right now, just based on what we've seen this week, between the win on Saturday against the Flyers, between the win against the Blackhawks on the road, which basically got their head coach Luke Richardson fired. Just a sad end to that game. I mean, the Blackhawks took a too many men on the ice penalty, down a goal late in the game, or maybe it was down 2 goals, but down, it was close and it was late in the third period. And he tries to pull the goalie, and the Blackhawks get a too many men in the ice penalty, because he already had 6 guys on the ice when he pulled the goalie. Like, that is just like, when your rope is a little tight and you don't have much slack as an NHL head coach, and you do something like that, I mean, that's when you're going to be gone. Like, frankly, I think the too many men in the ice penalties that the Bruins took throughout the playoffs last year, I think that was one of the reasons the Bruins were not head over heels to extend Jim Montgomery, and saw some troubling discipline and sort of management issues, bench management issues going on under his watch that were problematic. And when you start to see that stuff, I think if you're upper management, that's when you really start to think maybe we need to go in another direction. And I think that Luke Richardson, too many men in the ice penalty on trying to pull a goalie, was the last straw. Like, that was it. So eventful week, a win over the Red Wings as well. 2 home games where they won in overtime, with Pasta playing playmaker to Pavel Zacha and setting him up for a goal. So really interesting the way things are developing at this point for the Boston Bruins, but it's successful, so you can't really argue with it. All right, let's get to our first question in the Bruins mailbag. This is actually apropos of what we were just talking about, from Grayson_BO79622. I'm not sure if I like Pasta the playmaker, but it seems to be working. Look, I'm with you. And I think even Joe Sacco had mentioned there are times he wants Pasta to shoot more. He wants David Pastrnak to shoot the puck when he's in position to shoot, when he's in position to get a good shot off. He is a natural-born scorer. He has a great shot. He has a lethal NHL shot. It's accurate. It's deadly. It's hard. It's deceptive to goalies sometimes. He should be shooting when he gets in a chance in shooting position. And guys should be expecting that, going to the net, looking for rebounds, looking for screens, things like that. But he should be looking to score in all these different areas and looking to shoot the puck as much as possible. And it gets frustrating when it's an odd man rush, a 2-on-1, and he's got a clear lane to shoot the puck, and he won't do it, and he tries to pass it, and it gets turned over and goes back the other way. Now, all that being said, Pasta will make some good plays when he passes the puck, especially to Zacha. Pastrnak and Zacha now have a really good chemistry going, having played together for the last few years, having played together for the Czech Republic, having practiced together. Clearly, they're friendly. You can see that chemistry between them. And there's always going to be an element, and you see this a lot in the offensive zone. there is always going to be an element of David Pastrnak holding the puck in the O-zone, drawing a lot of defenders to him, drawing a lot of attention to him, and it opens other people up for wide open chances. And that's what we saw in the overtime game winner. Pasta wheels behind the net. Everybody follows him in overtime in the 3-on-3. It leaves Zacha open on the back door. He just feeds it to Zacha, and boom, boom, it's a goal. Like, that's just a great play. It's Pasta knowing the defense is going to be flocking towards him. Zacha knowing how to read off of him and getting to the right spot. Just a great play. So as much as you want David Pastrnak to shoot first, and I think everybody wants that, there are times he's going to make plays, and you're going to be glad he made the play instead of shooting the puck, and you're glad that he set it up. Not to mention, you don't want a guy that's so selfish that people don't like playing with him, or it becomes a problem chemistry-wise, or he's being a bad teammate, any of that stuff. And I think that's something that Pastrnak is very cognizant of too, of making the right play and doing the right thing in certain situations. And if a guy's in a better spot than he is, getting it to him. The execution is the matter sometimes of getting the puck to one of his teammates. Sometimes it's not executed as well. Sometimes the NHL's just got great defenders that break it up and go the other way. But it can be an exercise in frustration. There was no question about it. When David Pastrnak is cocked and loaded with a shot and looks like he's ready to shoot it, and then all of a sudden it turns into a turnover going the other way when you thought you had a sure scoring chance happening. So, I get it. And I think it's funny. A lot of people have even asked me if they think Pastrnak is hurt or he's nursing some kind of injury based on how much he's not shooting the puck and how much he's hesitating when it comes to shooting the puck and making the right play. And I don't think he's hurt. I don't think he's nursing anything. I do think he was not in the best of shape when he came into training camp, and his workouts this summer, he said it was due to an injury, had curtailed his ability to get ready and his ability to be in his best shape and best condition. And I think that showed. I think that was definitely obvious to start training camp, that he wasn't where he needed to be. And yes, he was getting some goals, but I thought he was just terrible. Looked bad on the ice, making bad plays, chasing the play, taking bad penalties, doing a lot of things that just weren't his regular level. And he was really hurting the team, frankly. And I think we're over that now, and he's definitely over the hump as far as that goes. And I think he's looked much better over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, basically right before Jim Montgomery got fired. He's looked much, much better. So I think the talk of whether he's injured has curtailed quite a bit. And instead, we're seeing him try to make the right plays and being a little more playmaker than scorer right now. You would expect, though, that will change if they start expecting him to pass a little bit more. They play off of him a little bit more, the more he sets other guys up. And that'll open stuff up for him as well and make him a little more unpredictable, which is always a great thing for an offensive player. So, we'll see how it goes. But, right now, I think Pasternak's in a pretty good place. And I think the Bruins will take him being Pasta the playmaker right now because it's working well. One other thing that's working well as we take a break from answering these questions is giving some love to Prize Picks. That's right. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America and the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Instead of battling thousands of other players that could be pros or sharks, you simply pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll right in. It's fun and pretty simple. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this hockey season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinion into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. That's right, Picksmas. This week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at the hockey board and selecting Brandon Montour for more than 2.5 shots on goal, Adam Fox for more than 23.75 time on ice, and Avs defenseman Cale Makar more than 25.5 minutes time on ice against the Devils. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can now win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard as well for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. What kind of great deal is that? It's a phenomenal deal. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's get right back into the podcast now. We're going to answer another question. This one from Jeremy Avery on Facebook, talking of Nikita Zadorov, says he's got a little Al Iafrate in him, doesn't he? This is a great question. I think this is a good comparison because so many people look at Nikita Zadorov at 6'6", big physical defenseman, kind of dirty, mean, and nasty in the defensive zone, and they automatically, especially in a Bruins uniform, think Zdeno Chara. I don't think I've watched him enough now. I do not see the Zdeno Chara when I look at Nikita Zadorov. Planet Al Iafrate, I can see a little bit. Zadorov has a big personality. I think he's really interesting dude, just like Iafrate was. I think he's a little unpredictable with the stuff he does, both in terms of puck decisions, both in terms of losing his temper and really going after guys, in terms of maybe playing further away from the net and taking risks offensively, or just shutting a play down much further away from the net than Zdeno Chara would. He's a much different kind of player, but I think he's also really effective when he does sort of play it safe. And most of the time when he's playing around the net and he's really using his physicality and his size to either shut off plays, intimidate opponents, or just, kill things and get it out of the defensive zone. And I think the injury to Hampus Lindholm forced him to be a little bit more involved on the Bruins penalty kill. And I think that's been a really good thing for the penalty kill. I think he's an excellent penalty killer and is really in that position and in that situation, he's sort of forced a little bit more to play closer to the net and to use his size and strength and meanness and intimidation to make it a no-fly zone for other opponents and other players they're playing against and around the Bruins net. So I do see a little Al Iafrate in him. Iafrate was big and strong. He had that great slap shot, which we saw Zadorov score with against the Red Wings. And he's done some really interesting things. I think he's been better, frankly, too, just like everybody else since Joe Sacco took over. And I think he's admitted it as well, that the team has felt more connected since Joe Sacco took over. So I think we're seeing the player that the Bruins thought they were getting when they signed him to a $5 million a year contract, a long-term deal. And, he's going to have the occasional brain fart. I think we're starting to see that now. He's going to have the occasional decision that's not good. He's going to occasionally do things with the puck in situations that are going to lead to goals against. He's going to make mistakes. He is definitely not perfect. And in that way, I think there are going to be times where he's going to do things that are going to stick out and be problematic. But I also think that we see that he's a guy that's going to be a huge factor in the playoffs, that he's going to be a much bigger factor in the postseason for the Bruins, and is going to give them an element of unpredictability, an element of fear in the other team, an element of intimidation against other teams' players that you're going to need in the postseason. That is going to be a big deal and is going to be very effective and is going to give them a different dimension. And I think you're already seeing that. So as much as we see times when he's the most penalized player in the NHL right now, he's made some mistakes, he's doing some things that, people will compare him to Iafrate. As much as all that stuff is happening, I think you're also seeing a guy that you watch right now and you see the way he plays and you're like, all right, this is really going to play in the playoffs and he's going to be a handful and he's going to be a legit problem for a lot of teams and a lot of opponents. And he's going to be a big net positive and a plus for the Bruins in the postseason, the kind of guy they have not had the last few postseasons that is really going to help them, I think, when things get nasty in the playoffs, as they always do, especially if you're the Bruins and you're planning to go deep and play against some really good teams that are going to pull out all the stops to try to win, aka the Florida Panthers. I think Zadorov gives you a different element against teams like that that's going to help you quite a bit. So great question, great comparison. All right. This is from Stanley Cup 2023 on Twitter. Take my word, Bruins fans et al., your team is in great shape with stars/studs like Charlie McAvoy and Jeremy Bulldog Swayman. The window is wide and with a capital D, open. And Stanley Cup 2023. All right. I think they're playing better. I think Jeremy Swayman is playing much better. Look, there was an obvious period of adjustment for Jeremy Swayman after missing all of training camp, after not being ready. Like, he's a 26-year-old kid that's only been through a few NHL camps and only had a few NHL seasons under his belt. He is not a veteran goaltender that could get himself ready without NHL camp and the reps in NHL camp and be like game ready as soon as the season starts. He just was never going to be in that position. I think the Bruins recognized it. I'm not sure Swayman recognized it, and he thought whatever he was doing at BU was going to help him. But clearly it wasn't enough. And I think that was obvious to most seasoned, experienced hockey people that he was going to struggle because he missed camp holding out, but also because the weight of being a number one goalie now, the expectation of being a number one goalie, not having a Vezina Trophy winner by his side, as he's always had, whether it was Linus Ullmark or whether it was Tuukka Rask, was going to be an adjustment for him. And I think that's exactly what we saw. Now, I think we're starting to see now is that he's worked into game shape, that he's now feeling good like he did last year, confident, on top of his technique, on top of his reading the play, on top of reading the puck, like all of that stuff. And the more important part, I think, is they're playing much better defense in front of him. And I think that's what we're starting to see now. And that's like a big difference maker, obviously, for a guy like Swayman, is that they're making the plays in front of him. Now, that doesn't explain why Korpisalo, behind the same kind of defense, played better the opening, couple months of the season when Jim Montgomery was the coach, and Jeremy Swayman didn't. I think he just struggled, as I mentioned, for the factors and for the reasons that I had mentioned before. But I think you do see him coming into form and being the guy that he was before. And come playoff time, he should be that guy fully, be right back to the form he was last year. And part of the reason that the Bruins are paying him the money that he's making now, because he didn't have the track record during the regular season or the resume to command that kind of money, part of it is because what he showed in the playoffs, and that he can be a stud in the playoffs and he can be a stopper in the playoffs. And there's only a certain amount of goalies in the NHL that I think you would repute it to be that way, that you think that way about, that can do that kind of thing. And I think he's one of those guys. And I think we're starting to see that. So, like, I'm with you on Swayman and Charlie McAvoy. Like, I will tell you right now, one of the biggest reasons that the Bruins have turned things around, one of the biggest reasons they are 7-2 in the last 9 games, one of the biggest reasons that their goals allowed have gone down, that their penalty kill percentage success rate has gone way up, even that their power play is having more success, that their physicality and attention to detail has gone up, like across the board. A lot of those things are attributable to Charlie McAvoy playing his best hockey of the season. Charlie McAvoy has been an absolute beast the last month, I would say. And this, again, like a lot of the other players, happened right before the coaching change. You could see all of a sudden, he was playing rover the first 20 games of the year. He was not really paying attention enough to things in the defensive zone. He was not paying attention to defensive details. He was blowing coverages around the net, allowing guys to get behind him for odd man rushes and transition goals. There was a lot of things going on with Charlie McAvoy's game that were not good the first 20 games of the year, the first 15 or so games of the year. But I think what you've seen since the coaching change and shortly before it, much more attention to detail in the D zone. There will be times when Charlie McAvoy does not have any shots on net in a game. There will be times when Charlie McAvoy is not on the score sheet in a game. And that's okay. He's blocking shots. He's throwing hits. He's playing physical, heavy hockey. He's intimidating the other team. He's making big hits that change momentum in games. He's setting a tone of nastiness against the other team and dragging other guys in the fight. He's being a better leader and being accountable after games and going out there and talking to the media, whether he's pissed or not, because I know a lot of times he's upset after they lose and he does not like losing. And he's found a way to be a pro about it and to really talk about it and try to break it down and analyze it a little bit more, rather than avoiding those situations, as had been the case sometimes in the past. And that's leadership. That is where leadership shows up. That's where guys see what guys are made out of, and guys set examples for other guys, and the veteran guys show how it's done. And I think Charlie McAvoy has started showing how it's done during this winning streak and shortly before it, and this winning stretch under Joe Sacco. And he's been shooting the puck more. The volume shot thing for Charlie McAvoy has been a good thing. The funneling pucks philosophy and throwing as many pucks in the net and creating havoc and rebounds and long caroms off the end boards and doing things to create things offensively by causing chaos in the D zone, I think has encouraged Charlie McAvoy to shoot the puck more as well. And I think that's been a really good thing. And really, all of this has led to the Bruins playing much better. And I think Charlie McAvoy and Jeremy Swayman are big factors in the way the Bruins are winning games right now and them turning things around. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for it. And certainly I think Charlie McAvoy does, because I think all of the leaders on the Bruins had a tough time the first 20 games of the year, and they've shown that they were able to turn things around. Let's take another pause in the podcast right now, and this time we're going to give a little love to our friends at Game Time. That's right. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time for obviously your Bruins tickets, but also if you're looking for tickets to the Patriots, Celtics, or even comedy or concert tickets as well. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The game of the week this week is the December 21st showdown between the Bruins and the Sabres at the Garden right ahead of Christmas. The super deal is $209 for loge seats, which is pretty great value for Bruins tickets. So those of you out there that have to buy the expensive Bruins tickets know that is a great deal, and there are nothing but great deals on tickets at Game Time. There's also some fantastic features at Game Time. Priority, Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, comedy, concert tickets, theater, etc. All-in pricing, which I love, is toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views allow you to get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee on Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. How awesome is that? 110% Game Time will give you. Like, there is nothing better than getting 110% of the difference on anything that you paid. Game ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. What's better than that? Game Time has you covered in every way, shape, or form. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? It's game time. All right, let's get back into the mailbag, and we are going to answer another question. It's been a better effort for sure, but as many have pointed out, they haven't played many teams above 500 in this stretch, and that's from Jim Vachon on the Facebook fan page. Jim, yes, I agree with you. The Flyers may or may not be a playoff team. I think they're borderline playoff team. I don't think the Red Wings are going to be a playoff team. I don't think the Chicago Blackhawks are going to be a playoff team. I don't think some of the other teams that the Bruins have beaten recently are going to be playoff teams. Seattle was one of them. The Utah Hockey Club, definitely. There's been a number of teams that the Bruins have taken down, and they lost to the Penguins, who may or may not be a playoff team. They started winning some games, so we'll see where they're going to go. And they were playing better hockey, the Penguins were, but still not a great loss. Their third game in 4 days wrapped around Thanksgiving, so I think that's part of it too, is they did not have legs, and they kind of looked tired in that game, to be honest with you. But I think your point overall is correct in that they have not beaten any world-beating teams. They have not beaten any contending teams. They haven't beaten the kind of teams, i.e. the Carolina Hurricanes and the Dallas Stars, that completely blew their doors off earlier in the year and showed there was a big divide between where the Bruins were and where those teams were. But this upcoming road trip, this huge road swing right before Christmas, where they go out and play all these teams in Western Canada and play a bunch of contending teams and play a bunch of talented teams and play, on the road for a long time, where they're probably going to have tired legs and not be at their best in some of these games, and it's really going to challenge them. Like, this is the proving point. This is the proving ground where they're going to show if all their attention to detail, the better defensive hockey, the special teams turnaround, all these players playing much better than they did the first 20 games of the season. We're going to see if this is a little bit of a mirage or if this is actually a team that has turned a corner and is ready to contend and is ready to play, frankly, like they have played in the past. And I think, I'm a believer that, look, you're a playoff team. Frankly, you're a playoff team if you're the Bruins, if you just take care of the teams that you're supposed to take care of. And if you beat the teams you're supposed to beat, you will be in a playoff spot. You will be in a good position. Now, that doesn't guarantee playoff success when you finally start playing good teams, but that will make you a playoff team. And I think the Bruins are showing they're a playoff team. Like, even at their worst, when they were struggling, they were pretty much in a wild card spot the whole time. So they were going to be a playoff team regardless, I think, based on the way that they were playing. What we're seeing now is they're rising up the standings. They're starting to make some noise. They're starting to build some confidence. And we have to see if this is real or if this is kind of like, all right, the expectations are maybe a little higher than we thought they were the first 20 games, but this team's probably not going to win more than a round in the playoffs, maybe. And maybe similar to last year's team in that regard. But this West Coast trip, playing Winnipeg, playing Edmonton, playing Calgary, playing Vancouver, playing all these teams out west, you're going to see what they have, and you're going to see what they can do, and you're going to see if they're for real or not. And I frankly think they're for real because they're playing a good system of hockey and a good brand of hockey. And you're seeing them get back to basics and doing the right things. And when they pay attention to detail, they have enough talent to win and beat a lot of teams in the NHL. And some of their players are very undervalued, I think, by the Bruins fan base as far as how good they are and what they can bring to the table. Now, do they need another winger at the trade deadline, another goal scorer, another dimensional offensive player that can bring a lot to the table? Yeah, I think they're missing a top six forward. I think we've seen that all year. I think guys like Morgan Geekie and guys like Justin Brazeau are going to be hard-pressed to really be those kind of players and produce at the level that you need them to, and just frankly be offensive weapons that other teams need to worry about. But they have enough to win right now and to compete, and even against good teams. And now they just need to go out and prove it in Western Canada. And this will be another example of a team that can really, or a trip that can really bring this team together and have them even tighten the bond more. Frankly, I'm sure they've been through a lot, and they're pretty tight now, having the coach getting fired and going through that first 20-game gauntlet of the season. But I think now we'll start to see them come together even more. And I think we're going to see them win some games and have a successful road trip and continue to win around the formula of defense, goaltending, occasional offense, and, raised special teams play. There may be a clunker or two in there, but I have high expectations for this trip through Western Canada, as I think Bruins fans should as well. All right, that is going to wrap up this edition of the mailbag edition of the Hagg edition, of the Pucks with Haggs podcast. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Let's thank our sponsors one more time. Our good friends at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Let's also take the guesswork out of buying any kind of tickets, Bruins tickets, comedy tickets, concert tickets, any kind of tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? It's game time. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to this mailbag episode of the Pucks with Haggs podcast. We'll have 2 more shows for you next week. In the meantime, we'll see you at the rink.